in on it. Sorry to interrupt you.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I think she's the host. I can't, because I can't record it from my side, right? Okay. So, when we have these conversations, it's important for us to all to realize that we're all on different pages as far as how we perceive things and how this is all coming around and so forth. When we look at this week, what a crazy week. We find out things that happen so quickly. We come in on Monday and start some planning. And we're planning for something that we really don't know what's going to look like. And so the most important thing when we start these conversations is that, we have some infrastructures that are in place that we're able to talk to each other. And that's the biggest start, the biggest plus that we have is that we're able to start these dialogues. And, what we put in our classroom is going to vary depending on where you are. Technology wise, where you feel how you're handling the situation as it is. So when we have these conversations, we're going to find that people are all over the board, and that's okay. And to realize that it doesn't make you a wonderful teacher or a bad teacher because you're maybe at a certain place, maybe not where we want to be right now. And maybe you are where you want to be right now, but as we move forward, the goal is to get us all going in the right direction, and it might happen. It's going to happen. We don't know when that's going to happen, and what it looks like will change on a continual basis. So when we start looking at those, does anybody have that in front of them? In front of thumbs up if you have those the collective promises in front. Perfect. So. Who wants to be a facilitator? So we can kind of have a dialogue instead of me talking. When I go to those meetings that you guys meet on Wednesday mornings, I usually sit back and shut up. And it's better for everybody's mental health. So who would like to kind of volunteer? We start asking those questions, or what's the framework that we want to have as we move forward to have that dialogue? David, perfect. Adam was quick.
I guess, yeah, I can do it. I'm sure.
Perfect.
All right. So we're just looking at going through these, this 1 through 5 then? Is that kind of where you want to start? Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah. Let's start at those things. And I think it's easier from there's more dialogue than when I start to talk.
Sure. I guess the first one that I think looking at this is how do you communicate effectively via Zoom? One thought I would have is that obviously if we all talk at once, we're gonna cause a lot of chaos and confusion. I know we did yesterday a really good job of like muting microphones and raising our hands. The other side, is everyone comfortable? I was using this yesterday with some students and just trying to get a feel for what it's like running a meeting. And one thing that we really liked, or that I enjoyed, is I put this, if you go on your bottom, there's a 3 dot and it says more. And it'll come up and says chat, and then it pulls up a little chat bar on your side. That might just be a nice side method of putting out questions or other things that you don't necessarily need to talk about, but you just want to put out there and get a feel for it from the group. Is there thoughts or ideas on that?
I was looking at Jenny. I thought I printed it out, but did anybody get a chance to look at Jenny's protocols that she sent out on a doc? She had put some protocols as far as communication, and like the thumbs up and thumbs down, so you have people that where they stand, and at least and instead of everybody talking at the same time. But maybe one thing is when we have those meetings, get a copy of those protocols, have them beside you so we can look at them and see what she's an expert on that. She uses it on a regular basis. One idea.
So any other thoughts on that, or what we should look at? All right. Number 2 then, how do we ensure that all people have a voice during the Zoom meeting? I guess I'm not sure on this one. Anyone have any opinions?
Is it helpful when the facilitator might just call out on a person? Or would that make people feel uncomfortable?
I think that might throw us like, I think that would throw people off a little bit myself.
No, I'm
Well, how do we ensure that all people have a voice during a Zoom meeting? I mean, everybody has their ability to put something out there in a meeting, right? So, I mean, everybody's going to have a voice and everybody's going to have a say to some point, I'm thinking. Or am I overthinking this?
I think what we're finding, Buff, is yes, I mean, everybody can unmute themselves physically and have a voice, but some people aren't. So they're either choosing not to participate, or they're too afraid to participate, or they just don't want to. And so I think it's kind of like if you were sitting around, I kind of imagine this as sitting around a table. So all of us are sitting around a virtual table right now. And you want everybody to have some say in what happens, so that when you walk out the door, people aren't saying, well, I didn't agree to that. You know, this is kind of your moments to do that and to be a part of a meeting and to have, I just called it a voice on that sheet, meaning that whatever you have to say now, it doesn't change when you walk out the door. And maybe for middle school, that isn't going to be a challenge because your group is way, way smaller than the other groups.
And I think I mentioned yesterday too that this group, by and large, is flexible and really open to new stuff. So.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. That it's typically in our meetings we've been able to share ideas pretty freely and openly. One thing that maybe we want to do or talk about with that voice is if there is a discrepancy or if we feel that there's a tension on something, that before we move on from that subject, not that we do it every time, but if for whatever reason there's a discrepancy, we do a fist to five on do we all agree, do we not agree, and we at least know, okay, if somebody's got a 0, we need to come back and talk about it, or they're at a 3, well, they don't agree, but it's okay, they'll probably move on with it. Maybe that's a good way. If there is sometimes that we feel like there's a tension that we need to address, that might be an easy way to do it.
Middle school is a really good group of people that really do a good job at that. Good job.
That's because I have short-term memory loss, Tammy, so I forget when I'm mad in about 5 minutes. We feel good on that one? Let's try our fist to five. Are we good with that? Awesome. How do we maintain confidentiality, especially if specific students are being discussed? This is a big one, I would say. And also, I'm going to add to that if I can. Yesterday, I was meeting with students, and I kind of had this in the back of my head that I wanted to make sure I let them know I'm recording and just have a constant recording when I am meeting with students, just for my own knowledge of, hey, I'm still interacting with a student and I want to know that we have a record of it. Kind of wanted to get some thoughts on that as well. So I let them know that we were recording, we were just having a discussion, testing out Zoom, but wanted them to be aware.
We're also going to, today I'm going on another webinar with Bob Butler, attorney from WASB. One of the questions that came up is if we're recording students, can we even share that out with the other students? So if I'm gone, because I'm whatever, and my 9 classmates are doing it, but I missed it, I don't even know if we can share because of confidentiality. So that is one thing that we'll ask today. And I think the other part was, even if you're in like a teacher group, like right now we're tape recording this. If we use student names, that probably isn't the best thing to do. So as we move forward, let's say we have Jimmy Jones. We might want to say JJ in 4th grade or something like that, because if we're sharing it, that's also a public document, and we don't want to broach confidentiality either. So we'll have to sort of look at what the legal ease of that is. What the elementary decided to do is if we're bringing up specific students, and at this point we're not, but you know, if we're looking 10 weeks down the road and we're bringing up specific students and you're saying, Jimmy Jones there's just no participation. What do we do to get him involved or whatever? You know, maybe it's JJ in 3rd grade or 7th grade, we're having this struggle, you know, so we're thinking about how do you talk about kids without giving too much information? Or do you even have to speak more generally? You know, I have a 3rd grader who, and not even bring up initials, because again, when you have a class of 7 kids or 12 kids or 20 kids, it's probably easy to figure out who JJ is.
Also, at that other meeting, it was talked a little bit about we're in rooms, you know, I'm in my office, nobody else in the background can hear and so forth. From me saying something or other people saying things. So, you know, what does that look like in your workplace as well?
Here's a little FYI. I'm going to share the screen real quick if that's okay. So, okay, so what I can do on my computer right now, if you can see this, I can go down to QuickTime, and I do this sometimes when I'm making lessons, and then I can go up here to new screen recording. And so when I click this, right now, this button up here tells me that I'm recording everything. So if I stop this, I just made a up here tells me that I'm recording everything. So I just recorded all of that. So I guess my point is, even if you don't think anyone else is recording, kids included, that they could be recording.
That's a good thing to know and just keep in the back of my mind. I think we're always, when you're working on this, you're probably always going to be, quote, getting recorded somehow.
Yeah. Okay, I got to figure out how to stop this. Okay, stop this share. Is that good now? Does that look better? Okay.
I wanted to add, like with what David was saying at the beginning, as far as recording when you're meeting with students, even if you're not planning on sharing it, I think it's a good idea just to record it, kind of for the same reasons of you wouldn't meet with a student in your classroom with the door closed. If you get off and a student says so-and-so said something inappropriately, you at least have a recording of that meeting to kind of diffuse that situation or whatever it might be.
Good point.
I think that's what we decided too as a elementary team is we'll always record the meetings, and they're gonna, when they get to that point, if they're doing that with students, just always record it, but it's definitely not always a share. And again, we'll check into that records and how that works as far as sharing. I just don't know that piece.
Do we know, as far as, like, I was making some videos yesterday of lessons, how many recordings will our computers hold before we start filling up storage on them?
It's definitely a real question, for sure. It depends on your computer, I would say. And I'd say that we should upload them to Google Drive because we have unlimited space on there for the school, on our Google Drive for the school. So, and once we download our recordings as well, like, or if we're recording and then the MP3 or 4 or whatever thing will come up, that we put them all in like the same place so we can find them and then label them of what they are too, because otherwise they'll just be a big mess of recordings.
I like that. I'll get some more guidance on that. And it looks like Tuesday we're meeting with John and Jenny. We can, I can give you whatever that guidance is that we find out today. Because even if we're saving it, it is a public record, but that can be requested as a public record. But if it doesn't involve their child, then they don't really have access to that. I mean, there's all kinds of rules with confidentiality in student records.
Should we go on to number 4? How do we prepare to meet virtually?
Is that like Adam just sent a chat? Is a shared drive something that would be nice with an agenda of stuff that you might as a group want to talk about? Is that too formal? And might as well go into a little bit farther when we start looking at what we want to get accomplished. And then one of the documents that we sent has a little bit, there'll be a few times where we'll be meeting, and in the middle school we'll meet once a week for at least an hour with that idea of just, what will that look like? I'm guessing that, it's going to take an hour of you guys sharing some of the things that you've created and, what's working and what's not working, and just those things that we learn from trial and error. So maybe that is a good idea, like Adam had, a shared drive so people can go back and look at those things of what's working, what's not, and you can use that as a resource in the future. Just a thought.
Yeah, I'm up for a shared drive.
Whoops, does that kind of go into number 2 as well? How do you share ideas? So obviously they're sharing now. You're sharing, we learn how to share the screen, but also things on the shared drive. Things that can be documented and then used when other people are ready for them.
We do have like a team drive for middle school as well. I mean, we could just do it in there. If you're talking about sharing a drive, if you're talking about sharing a doc where we communicate, we could just create a doc in that team drive as well. Or we can just create a separate folder. It doesn't really matter.
Kelly, are you able to, if you look at this group, are you able to add, probably, I don't know if Tammy's on there, if Bob's on there, if Tom's on there, if Amy's on there.
I believe both Sarah and I are on that.
Are you able to add people to
Right.
that?
I don't know who's on there unless I went into it right now.
Yeah,
So, but I will look and see.
sure.
So, okay.
I can just make a new one too, so it's kind of just from now. I mean, since like I haven't been in on any of their PLCs in the past, so it'll just kind of be the new stuff that we're doing.
Adam, how do you had sent Jeff and I an email asking about, are you in the elementary group? Are you in the middle school group? We put you in the middle school, and I don't know if you saw those emails. We put you in the middle school group because you have this technology background. You have the Google Classroom background. You're sharing, I think, differently than what the elementary is at this point. So that's why we put you here. But that's really kind of your decision where you want to be placed.
He has a master's in technology and education. He's forgotten more than I'll ever know. That true, Adam?
So I would say like our using of that shared drive is going to be helpful. Being able to come back and like talk about that. Going along that, just it's kind of a random question, but I think it fits in that sharing ideas. On Google Classroom, has anyone else noticed that spell checker is not the best on there? Or is that just me having an issue? If anyone has suggestions on that, because being the dyslexic teacher, it's like, oh boy, this I hope looks okay.
David,
Yep.
do you get like Grammarly text boxes that come up on yours?
Yeah, I do,
Okay.
but like sometimes they come up and then they'll work, and then you go to change the next one and they all disappear.
Oh,
So I'm just not sure, and maybe I just have to tinker with it some more. But
okay.
yeah,
Not that this relates to anything else, but like the first stuff that I was putting out to the kids, I had a couple mistakes. I just thought it's better that it's out there with a couple mistakes than, does that make sense? Like, just keep moving.
yeah, no, I would agree. I think that's kind of always my mantra, and the kids are pretty aware of it. Like,
Yeah.
I always say if there's something on the board that's spelled wrong, go ahead and go up and fix it. Like, that's a good thing. It doesn't insult me, but just so parents are aware if they're looking over the kid's shoulder, it's like not intentionally doing this, but it's just good to have stuff out.
David, maybe you should tell them that you have at least 5 errors in there and they have to find it.
There we go. I like the spin.
Yes.
So are we looking then, I guess that our next would be that collective norms. Is that our next target?
Yeah, I just put those on there. The questions at the top were supposed to be sort of guiding questions, but the bottom were examples of, I had looked at some online examples and looked at just collective norms that we have done in the past, and just put those on there for people to think, areas to think about. So those weren't meant to be a separate document. It was just meant to maybe help lead the conversation.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think there's times where, depending where groups are, and bringing the old counselor out, and there's functional groups and there's not so functional, and then there's working groups to become functional. So those things become important, especially when you're that working group, or you're working in that working phase, to become functional. So I think it's something important to look through, and then and maybe in the future, if things aren't going so well, then bring them up to address as well. But that when I'm looking at some of them, we've already addressed a few of them.
Mm-hmm. I would agree to that.
Looking ahead into the future, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, and if I am, just let me know. I'm thinking we're going to probably have to meet with our classes, whichever ones can. So are we looking at doing certain days of the week where for 1 hour, maybe 20 minutes of that, I'll have 8th grade, Kelly will have 7th, David will have 6th, and then we kind of rotate in that hour period with kids that are on Zoom? Or what are the expectations as far as meeting with the kids? And again, if maybe I'm too far ahead, I don't know.
Let me take a few minutes to talk, and then I think we'll get this part done and then move right into where you guys are talking, what you're talking about, Buff. A few people need to have those expectations. Some people don't. I mean, they like to have expectations, but have a lot of flexibility in that. So let's take a few minutes to talk a little bit about that. And then we get out of the way, and then you guys just kind of go, because I think that's the way you guys as a group have done a good job of operating it. And in the past, you create your own direction, and that's good. Other people don't do so well. They like to be told what to do. And so when we look at those expectations, the current expectations on that sheet of paper, those are some things that we had talked a little bit about, as at that Monday meeting. These are some things, because we don't know what's ahead of us. These are some things that we want to shoot for. If you look below that, I talked a little bit about current professional development. And I think these interactions here are so important, and we want to make sure that we have them embedded on a weekly basis. So in the future, every Monday, and you guys can figure out the time, is that you're going to have a meeting like that and talking about those things, exactly what you're talking about, Buff. It might be that as a group you try or individually you try something, it's working perfectly, and you want to share that with people. Or there might be some things that aren't going so well. You have at least an hour a day that's set up through Zoom that you're going to be able to talk about it. And so when we're done here, you guys will kind of figure out what that's going to look like. But on Mondays, we'll have that meeting that we'll look at. The other thing is that, well, as times change, on Tuesdays, we'll have a Zoom meeting, and it'll be a half-hour Zoom meeting focused on Zoom. Last time we talked about invitations. I'm still trying to figure out how to share my screen here, and the next one will be talking, Jenny and John will be talking a little bit about recording and then sending things out to teachers or students and so forth. So we'll have a half-hour in-service type thing on those each week. And for some people, it'll be more of a discussion because you guys, certain groups might already be there and they don't have to look at it or work on it. And then Thursdays we'll do the same thing in Google Classroom. And there's a lot of things that can be done in there. And I think Sonia had mentioned before, Jeff, there's a lot of things a lot of people know more than I do. And I said, well, that's a perfect opportunity for people to share. So those are some things that'll be coming down the pike just for us to have professional development, because if we move along and you don't have the skill set, well, you're not going to be able to have those interactions with people.
Jeff, can I just interrupt a second, just for a detail? Can we, for middle school, just for this next week, can we put you at the 9:45 time, Tuesday, Thursday? If you look on Jeff's sheets, Jenny Landis and John are probably going to lead, I'm assuming, are leading that Zoom meeting. Not sure who's leading the Google meetings, but can we put you down at the 9:45 time? Middle school, thumbs up if that's okay.
Perfect. And then the last thing, and these are some things that I think are just housekeeping things that they will look differently, but as we move forward, these are some ideas. Now, these ideas are not next week. They might not be the week after that. They could change in the near future too, but we want to continue to move forward. One is, preparing those lessons for students. What does that look like? The other one is, preparing lesson plans, and I'll let you guys can read that, but, do we have to schedule? Maybe that's not so much for you guys, scheduling throughout the day to help parents, because you're going to be moving more and talking, you have the Google Classroom. Your kids are going to be able to have access to that a lot better than younger kids. But like you said, Buff, the framework is that you guys are going to have a time that you kind of rotate things. I don't know what that would look like. Zoom office hours. Who does Zoom office hours? Thumbs up if you've started doing Zoom office hours right now.
I just put out to this morning some office hours, and I'm hoping that I did it right for students, and just to be Zoom emails or phone calls for next week, starting from 8 to 9 in the morning, and then I went 4 to 5 in the afternoon, Monday through Thursday, and Friday 9 to 11. Is that kind of what we're looking for, or did I majorly miss the mark?
I think that's perfect. I think it's going to be different for every person. It's going to be interesting. I bet you're going to get kids to zoom in and talk about fishing and things that they're doing outside, and that's going to be equally as important as some of the academic stuff as well. So, Bob, how about you? What you had your finger up and you were saying you have some office hours too?
Yes, I am waiting for Zoom to give me full access. Right now, I'm limited to 40 minutes. So they have to email me right now, then I can invite them. In fact, I just got a request from our 8th grade student who's been out of the school a lot and now is in virtual school. So I will contact her later. I emailed her and I will talk to her later today and have a Zoom meeting with her. So otherwise, I'm planning from 8 to noon once I get Zoom to allow me to do more than 40 minutes. I'll just have that open, period. But Sam says Zoom is overwhelmed and it may take a week or so before I get full access.
So one of the things that I'm worried about is that parents will get overwhelmed with like lots of different emails and different things. And so I was hoping last year and the year before and whatever, I used to send out like a monthly email to parents with kind of like a highlighted bolded thing saying, here's this deal going on, here's some more information. And then the next thing, here's this going on. I was thinking maybe every week I could send an email saying, you know, here's like the expectations, one email for the week. And at the end of the week, just checking in if you have any questions, you know, to let them know. But I'm thinking like that first email that should go out today or early Monday. I was hoping today. I got most of the parent emails. So I got this from Joe and I got them all in groups. So I can send it to everybody just to say, here's the office hours for Mr. Lorenz, Mr. Hirscher, Mr. Sen, myself. And so that people can all see that. And so parents know, but also we can send it to students very easily as well, which they can see it in their Google Classroom, but just in one spot. So they're not getting like a million emails. I don't know what you guys think of that. The streamline.
I love that idea. I think that's a really nice focus for the parents. And like, I don't know, I feel like the same way. I don't want to just bombard everybody and hit them with a million different things. And these kids are confused as how things come back. So I don't know if we make that as a shared Google like statement, like you were saying. And then if we add our office hours, if that would help you, or if we each take it every however often. I don't want to put a bunch on you, but I like that
I
idea
make
a
a
lot.
Google Doc and then I kind of set it up and then you can add some things in and then I just copy paste that into an email and then send it to everybody.
I think that'd be awesome.
Setting up the groups is not like very easy to do for like, I can't just share that whole group with you for parent emails. Plus it would be nice just to have like, as a parent, I don't want to get emails from 6 different teachers and trying to figure out what's going on and when are their office hours. And if there's like one spot where I can check and go, yep, okay, here's the time where you can talk with Mr. Lorenz, or if they have a question, you know, to email one of their core teachers. I don't know.
I think that'd be great.
And then like maybe a homeroom teacher could be like the, like 6th graders to me, 7th graders to you, 8th graders to send, like if they have questions about logistics or anything that needs to go through the school, like they could email their homeroom teacher. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be good with that.
Okay.
I think Kelly too, maybe one of the things you want to consider in time is the amount of homework too. You know, we think of things as a 7 or 8 hour day. You don't want kids doing homework for 7 or 8 hours a day. You know, you're probably looking at, and I don't know this, I don't have any expertise on this, but you're thinking maybe 3 hours a day at the middle school. So you, the 4 of you, or actually all of you, specialists as well, you may have to coordinate that too. So you're not sending an hour and Buff sending an hour and David sending an hour and Tom sending an hour, and you know, that's going to get to be a ton for kids. So you got to make it a manageable week, knowing that online schooling obviously looks different than face-to-face schooling.
And we could maybe do that on the doc, say, here's what an average day would look like. And I can put like, you know, for the classes that I do, like approximately this much time should be spent, and then have those times then add it up. So they kind of know like how long it's going to take.
Is it fair to say, like, if we did that idea of laying out kind of what a day, quote unquote, would look like, but then having that expectation that here it'll be shared out to you, knowing that conductivity and ability for internet access for every kid isn't going to be equal, we give longer due dates. So you should be able to work on it for a half an hour. I want you to watch a lecture. Now that might happen today, or it might happen on Wednesday, but I'd like you to have that done and respond with some feedback or your notes or whatever it might be. And then the kids kind of have that option to, maybe they know a schedule, but they can take it and work with it as needed. So it's not necessarily 8 from 9, you're going to do this, but for 15 minutes, you're doing this project as you can. Does that make sense?
Right. And I would hope that every week, I would hope that every week, like we could update something like with their grades or something, so that we could see like who's doing stuff and who's not. So like, yeah, not on a daily basis per se, but on a weekly basis, or if they get it done, we could put it in because we'll have the time. But for sure, like by on Mondays, like they know from the week before, like if they had to finish something by Friday at, 5 o'clock, like test or something, if they were doing that, then if they had to reach a certain level in IXL, or they had to have their project done for science, that if they had to have that done by Friday at 5, that at least by Monday, like we have stuff in there. So they know that we took care of it and that they're on the right track. I don't know. There's got to be something with that.
And Kelly,
Buff?
maybe that's part of your Monday meetings. So when your team decides on Jeff's first point there, maybe you decide that's kind of a focus as well, to see who's doing work, how are they getting work in. I think that'll be a big question for middle and especially high school. How are you going to manage that getting work back piece?
And what if they don't do anything? Like those should be the kids that we like are personally calling or doing something, right? I mean,
Well, and
talking to parents.
when we look at we have some support staff too that's going to be helping out. So, and down the road a little bit with Tammy and Sonia and so forth, those are, with our special education kids, but also there's probably going to be some time where, Sarah Nelson's over there peeking in on the side of her, you see side by side of her head. Those are the kids that you're right. You say, here's some concerns. Amy can be one of those people too, to make connections, not only with the kids, but the parents as well. So great idea.
Buff, I saw your hand a little bit ago. What was your question?
Well, it wasn't really a question. When we were able to meet with the kids on Tuesday and Wednesday, I went over some things with them, and I said, we're at a point right now where we're not sure about things. We don't know how this is going to go. So I'm going to need feedback from you guys as I assign material to you. This is too easy. This is taking too long. I need more time, whatever it may be, And so far, some kids have started already, and I'm getting back some comments about this was easy, but it did take a long time for me to finish this. Or other come back with easy, no problem, can do more, stuff like that. So as we get into it farther, that's going to help me, because what I did to start with is I assigned each of the classes something that they've already done. So they didn't need a lot of teaching on it, just to get them going. But there's some things coming up now where they're going to need some notes. They're going to need some rules that I'm going to have to be able to communicate with them, and then it might not be quite as easy for them. So far, it's been a pretty good thing for me with this math thing that I'm on. But after 30 days, then that's over too. So I'm going to have to figure out what to do then. But like I told the kids, I said, I don't want to overwhelm you, but I need feedback. I was thinking that if the middle school got together and we set up a schedule where we're going to meet with anybody that can Zoom with us certain days, but maybe that's something we talk about later too. So
I think that's close. I mean, I think those are good conversations. So when we looked at how are we on office hours? That's where we were. Everybody thumbs up of where some of them are going. Some people have not set them up yet. But that could lead into, Buff, what you're saying. Let's go on to that next one. Create group Zoom meetings.
Before you get going though, when you set up office hours, you always need to be available those times. Right? So if I say 8 to noon, I got to make sure that I'm by a computer or my phone, or what's the deal on office hours? I don't have to be at the school, right?
Say that again.
Well, can you just clarify office hours? If I say 8 to noon, that means I have to be available by a computer on those days from 8 to noon.
If that's 8 to noon by a computer, some people can do it by phone. I've been in a Zoom conference by phone.
Some people are setting up almost separate hours where they're saying, yes, I'm available. Oh, he's on the phone right now. Some people are saying, okay, I'm available via email or telephone from 8 to noon, but I'm also going to be available. I think, David, you said this. I'm going to be available from 9 to 10. I'm going to be on Zoom. So whoever joins me on Zoom, I'm on Zoom during that time. So it's almost separate. It seems like people are sort of separating those two so that it's more manageable for them. And yours is going to be a little bit different too, because you're half time. And so you're looking at 4 hours where I think, David, you were saying I'm going to have some Zoom hours from 4 to 5, but you might not be available from 9 to 10 or something like that. So you're kind of shifting your hours the way that fits you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was shooting for with doing that 8 to 9 in the morning, that chunk, keep that regular schedule for kids. They can get up and they can meet, but then also trying to put that 4 or 5 slot where if parents are working, it's a little easier, hopefully, for them to get a hold of me too as well. So we'll see. Kind of one of those things I figured it might have to change as the needs change.
But Buff also, as the needs change, but look at it, home. Do you have internet access at home?
I do.
Okay, so because I know that some people have used their phone, and I'm guessing that for some people there's going to be some creative ways that, okay, they might zoom in on you, and you might, if you you might be doing different activities and saying, hey, I'm going to get back to you. I can get back to you at a certain time, and so forth. So there's going to be a lot of interesting ways of doing it.
Yeah.
Jeff, I think you're muted.
Thumbs up if we move on. Diane's giving me the, oh yeah, there it is.
I was saying, come on.
Now let's go into what Buff had mentioned before, creating Zoom meetings, group Zoom meetings with students. What is that? What do you guys envision individually, groups, or whatever you are thinking about? David.
I guess I just did this today. Yesterday when I was practicing, just trying to do a meeting, it was pretty helpful for me learning how to run a meeting. And then you could just tell, like, the students, wasn't a whole lot said, but it was just kind of random chat. So today I decided to put out, just especially since I haven't seen any of the students this week, CPR Zoom hours. So I'm going to do, like, we do that circle of power and respect. And I just want to go around, touch base with the kids, what's going well, what's not. So I'm going to do that for about a half an hour with the students. And I guess I'm hoping I can do something along those lines as we're going through school, whether that's in the office hours or if it's just something we touch base to keep a little bit of that normalcy going. One idea.
Amy.
Amy, push the space button to unmute yourself. The space button.
There, are we good? Okay, David, could I be invited, or any other teachers too, when you're getting a small group together?
That would be awesome. I actually was that was kind of going to go into my next question of how do we support students, and you and I working together like we have. So absolutely. I think
and I don't have to be there the whole time.
Do you have classroom set up, Amy? Because I can invite.
I do not.
Okay. I'll send you some emails then with those links.
Okay, great. As for right now, I'm getting text messages from students checking in with me. And my schedule between here and Lakeland Family Resource Center is kind of up in the air right now. So as far as office hours are concerned, I don't know even where to start with that. So.
When you do find out, Amy, if you could email me, and then, or I share that doc with you, and then you can just put your hours in there.
Okay.
And we'll be able to send that out to the parents if you have any ideas. We could say right now that the hours are unknown, and we will we'll let you know. We could do that.
Great. Thanks.
One thing I had a thought on is It's because it kind of happened to me this last couple of days, but email etiquette and like video etiquette, like what things are appropriate to do when you're sending an email to your teacher or, you know, to anybody who's like older than you like that. And then, or being online, like to make sure, and this is kind of silly, but like, you know, if we're doing video chats with kids, you know, make sure that the kids have shirts on, like a boy would have a shirt on, that their language is appropriate. It's like emails I got, I don't know, even know how many, like 7 or 10 emails from one student who must have been doing talk to text and just kept making a mistake, but kept sending, and then just sending the next word that he missed, but I didn't know which word he was talking about. So I just wrote back and said, hey, I'm not sure which password you need. And then he said, well, I still can get into this. Oh, I mean, can't. I mean, I can. And so like, there's all these emails in a big row going off, and it wasn't at, you know, regular hours. So it was like late. And so to maybe give them a little thing, and parents too, of, you know, hey, if you're going to send an email, check it over, have somebody check it over too. If you have an older sibling there or something, if it's going to be something that's a little bit longer. Otherwise, yeah, we welcome your questions and stuff, but to not be putting, you know, I mean, these are middle schoolers, so of course they're going to try all this stuff. That's their job, to try to cross these lines and then see where we stop them. But what do you guys think of that?
Kelly, one of the things that the elementary brought up too, Amber Miller was having some trouble with Google Chat or Hangout. So maybe in your letter, just saying, you know, if you're sending something, because you do have families as well. So if you are sending something at 9 o'clock at night or whatever, we may not respond to you until the morning. Or if a parent is sending something late at night, because we do recognize that you still have your families to take care of as well.
Hey, another question I had was, so like we have books that the kids are reading, and every kid checked out a book. And if they didn't, they're in the office in a bag waiting for them to read. When they're done reading the book, and let's say we do some things with all of that, but then they need another book. So like, should they go through me, like to check out a library book? Can they pick it up if I put it in the office? Can we mail them, or all of the above? I don't know. Any ideas?
I think all of the above, because we'll have some office hours here and people coming in. Lori Rubish even came in yesterday and was talking a little bit about Rice Lake, and I have to call there about the Rice Lake Library, and they're doing some things, sending books to the houses as well. So I think all of the above is going to have to be. Some people are in town; they might be able to stop by during those hours. You know, we had I think yesterday we had 160 bags of breakfast or lunch and breakfast went out. So, you know, that's a good time when people pick up there too. Maybe we can have a bag of books there to go out with their food as well.
We had 141 actually go out yesterday, and we're thinking that might be low because it was 2 days worth of food. That when we're sending out a week's worth of food, you might see a big uptick in the amount of people showing up. So we could definitely do some book switching or however that's going to work. The other thing, Kelly, I'm thinking is you might want to involve Ashley from the library perspective too, as she's still working as well.
I think the library is closing in Rice Lake today. So any books, Kelly, probably will have to be ordered online, and I'm not sure if they're doing that online ordering anymore.
I could probably call and just see if they are doing that mail out deal. If that's Jeff said, maybe he heard that right. So if they're doing that, that'd be like amazing. But we'll see.
Do we also know of any like online software that allows, maybe there's some free because of so many people offering a lot of things. Are there any free online books where kids can get it free.
Right. And there's lots of Kindle different type books that are always available for free. I did have like 3 kids ask me, hey, where's the audio for this book? And I'm like, oh, like I have it here at school, but I like got it from the library, downloaded it on my computer on discs. It's not like I can just be like here, like I can't share that because it costs money. So then I told them about, audible.com has free 30-day trial. The library, if you download Overdrive, you can check out books on audio. So that's probably going to be still available, and probably more so now that if the library is closing in Rice Lake.
You can also download books on your Kindle, either the computer or your Kindle, from the Rice Lake Library all the time. So it doesn't have to be audio. It can be an actual book.
Depending too on what book it is, YouTube, if you just look for full audiobook.
Good ideas. Thanks, guys.
Jeff, you're on mute.
I was trying to push my little button there, my space button, and not working. So what are you guys thinking as far as group meetings, and do you have thoughts already on that, or are you still processing that, or are we across the board? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that we need to come up with some type of a schedule myself, and it's probably not going to include Adam. I don't know about Tom, but with David, Kelly, and myself, and then whoever wanted to be in there, I think we need to come up with some type of a schedule. We have a schedule when we're here that we follow. So why can't we set up some type of a schedule where maybe 3 days a week we're available, and whoever can be there can be there. And like I said, maybe you take up an hour of everybody's time, and for 20 minutes I'm with 8th grade, and then somehow we switch, and then Kelly's with the 8th grade, and then David with the 8th grade for 20 minutes. But I think we need to have somebody set up some type of a schedule. I don't know how many times we want to meet a week or any of that kind of stuff.
If we do that type of thing, then Buff, I'm just for Jeff and Diane, does that count like towards our office hours, or is that separate, or how does that look exactly?
Well, that would be counted as your office hours as well as your student hours. So I think you just, Jeff and I were kind of talking this morning, what does a day look like for a teacher? What is that? And I think, David, you asked me that, what is a day supposed to look like? I'm assuming it's sort of like the hour-wise, sort of like a school day. Understanding you also have lunch, and your prep times look different. Your curricular preparedness time is definitely going to look different. You're not going to be face-to-face. You don't want kids to be working for 6 hours on their computers. I think those are sort of all things that are going to take a little bit of time to figure out exactly what that looks like. I don't have the magic answers to that. I haven't really researched what best practices for, you're sort of almost operating like kids are virtual. So what does it look like for a virtual day? And I think that's all things that your teams will be figuring out.
And David, maybe you and Kelly don't think that's a good idea, where we have a schedule and we go around and meet with kids, and maybe you have your own idea. That was just something that I thought of that I would be more comfortable at. I just thought, if this wasn't going on, I'm supposed to be here every day from 8 to noon anyway. If it is going on, if I make myself available 3 days out of the week or 4 or whatever we decide, and then we can communicate with the kids via this Zoom, and other ones maybe with email or whatever way we can. But I just thought, if all the 8th graders, all the 7th graders, and all the 6th graders knew, hey, at Monday from 10 to 11 or 9:30 to 10:30 or 11 to noon, Mr. Sands available, Mrs. Leonard's available, Mr. Lawrence is available. We each get them for 20 minutes. They can go over some stuff with us that we need to know. We can ask questions, whatever it may be. Then that way, everybody, you know, like when they come to school, where do the 8th graders go? They go to my room. Where do the 6th graders go? To your room, and so forth. So then on Mondays at 10 o'clock, the 8th graders know, all right, this is my time with Mr. Sen. And then at 10:20, they're going to be with you and whatever.
No,
So-
no, I definitely like that, Buff. I think that was kind of my thinking too. Is a couple of it. It's just, one is I'm thankful that I have a job right now. When you look around the whole place, and I want to make sure that
Exactly, yeah.
the kids have that continuity. The parents see that we're doing stuff, and so I would definitely am up for doing that. I just was curious, as I'm just kind of writing out a schedule of what my day would kind of look like per week. So I was just trying to figure out when we would fit that in. But yeah, I totally agree. It's a good thing. Amy, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you
Oh,
there.
that's great. I think from my perspective too, and I've already heard it from 2 or 3 different students, is normalcy. They want to hear, you know, what time is this? What time, and expectations. I think they're kind of craving expectations. So that's my perspective.
And, you know, and I don't know about the anybody else that's involved, but for me, whenever we come up with a schedule, I'm probably going to come here and just talk right out of the classroom. One, kids, you know, they'll recognize that. 2, I got to get the hell out of the house too. You know? I can't be there the whole time
You
either.
don't have any kids at your house.
I know. I don't have my dog anymore either. So
Buff, that's why you see Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Johnson. And well, Mrs. Johnson's in her office, Mr. Johnson's out in outer space, but neither of us are physically at our homes either. When, you know, when we get home last night and you hear that our 300-pound son is laying on top of his 4th grade sister and she's screaming, and we're like, sorry, we weren't there. We were doing something weird called work.
Do you want to take, oh, sorry. Do you want to make sure you take attendance at these scheduled classes so that kids don't fall in the cracks?
That was another question like I had. Like there's some schools that are like have a Google form and the kids have to like submit their name and then check in. That's like their attendance for the day. Like they say, yeah, I'm going to start working on my work today. And I don't know. I mean, that's like another whole beast in itself. Or where if we just set up, Jeff, go ahead.
Well, and I think you hit it right on the head. I don't know about attendance or whatever that looks like, but I do think it's important to put to keep an eye on who we see and who we don't see, because of that mental health, some of the safety things, people like Amy, myself, or whoever getting out to the family, and as things move along, those are great points. I do think something, even if it's something informal, would be helpful for us, just more for health, wellness checks if we have to, kind of like police and social services do sometimes, but great point.
Like I said, the Google form might be the easiest way where the kids just go to the same spot every day. They put their name in and then they could even put like on a scale of 1 to 10, how you doing today? And then I don't know if there's some other question we wanted to add, we could, but then they press submit. Boom. We know that they're online. We know that they figured out that they got to do some stuff today, but that maybe we each take a class or something. So like, you know, if I did that, I'm not going through 70 middle schoolers and trying to figure out which grade every kid's in and, you know, all that. Well, you can sort it, but that everybody takes a class and then figures it out. But I don't know, like that's a whole nother thing. Like we're taking attendance, not teaching then, but we have to take attendance every day in class. So I don't know.
well, if I had to take attendance of this group all the time, I mean, and one of you wasn't here, you know who's in your class, you take a quick picture of it or something. I mean, that's easy enough. And then, okay, all right. Then when we have our student of concern meeting, okay, we've met with these kids 3 times and I haven't seen so-and-so at any of them yet. We need to reach out. We need to see what's going on with this person. I don't think we, you know, take attendance just to see who's there all the time, but just to see who's not there and if there's a pattern and when we got to get a hold of them. And I think it if I took out my phone right now and took a picture of this screen, that's everybody that's there. And then tomorrow I look at it, Tom's not here. Okay, so then I can write Tom's not here, or does that seem too difficult or not?
Well, that's if you're doing Zoom meetings with all the kids every
Isn't
day.
that
Or
what we're going to do?
I'm not sure.
Aren't we going to try and do that? I thought that's what we were going to try and do, is set up a time where we could have a Zoom meeting with all these kids if we let them know. And
Yeah, I
we
just
set
don't
up
know
a
how often.
schedule. Huh?
I just didn't know how often we would do that, if that would, because attendance is like a daily thing, if they're working
Well,
daily. I
You
didn't
know,
know.
on the other hand, kids are in the same boat as we are. If this wasn't going on, they would need to be here. So if we got out a schedule that Monday, Wednesday, Thursday from 10 to 11, 10 to 11:30 or whatever, there's going to be these Zoom opportunities for you. You need to be available. You know, they're not going to be going on vacation. They're going to have to make themselves available if they have the technology. You know,
When you-
I would say that next week, we probably sit down and come up with some type of schedule. So by next Wednesday, next Thursday, we can say, all right, here's the middle school schedule that's coming up for the week starting March 30th. And then we have that schedule out there. And, you know, if they have internet access, they should be able to be invited to a Zoom meeting, correct? I'm not up on all that kind of stuff, I guess.
Well, I think
Yeah.
maybe we should do a middle school schedule bare bones thing today, so like people have an idea. And I got a kid at home too, and I got kids who are like writing him and what are we supposed to be doing and when are we doing it? And so they're all wondering. So like if we just had some kind of bare bones thing. So after we get off of this, even if for 10 minutes, we could just be like, okay, let's figure it out. Because me and you, Buff, are right here, and we could get on with David and be
Yeah.
like, okay, let's just figure this out because we need to.
I'm up for that.
Sure.
One thing I ran into yesterday, and just to put in everybody's brain, was when I was chatting, students with true internet access, Zoom was slick. It was working perfect. Students who are working off Android phones, very difficult to get audio through and very difficult to get images through. They were there. I could see nodding heads response to what I was saying and other students, but many different attempts at audio and visual, and it wasn't working. One group I know lives kind of out in the Blue Hills area, and they didn't have direct internet, kind of south of the Blue Hills, but theirs was, they were on, but they weren't hearing it the best. So I think that's going to be one thing we'll have to be cognizant of, at least, is, okay, they're here, they're attending, but we might not get all the feedback or questions, or we might have to have them use this side chat bar to communicate, even if they can hear us, but they have to just type up questions. But again, that's all, we're going to learn all that stuff as we go. It's just
Yeah,
part of the
you know, and that's just something that we really can't control. But I think we got to try and hit as many as we can. And, you know, it's probably not a good thing for people to go over to other people's houses at this time either, because of all this stuff that's going on. You're supposed to be staying home, you know, so that's not a solution. I don't know what a solution is to people that live in the Blue Hills and don't have the access, but that doesn't mean, and I don't mean this negative, David, but that doesn't mean that we can't set these up and try and service the people that we can. And then some, you know, then we have to think outside the box. Okay, now how are we going to get to these people? Do we mail them something? You know, I guess Kelly and I would have to talk about. Yeah, there are going to be people that are in certain spots that aren't going to be able to be involved.
For sure. No, I agree. I think a Zoom meeting, 20 minutes each group. I love that idea, and I like the schedule and the normalcy. I mean, I just think the kids are craving that. So as much normalcy as we can have, and then we'll basically accommodate and modify for those that we'd accommodate and modify for an IEP. So we'll just do it for kids who are limited conductivity.
You know, some other things to, and again, I like these discussions, but, you know, I'm thinking of Tom having a conversation with Gavin. You know, we have kids at your levels. They are social creatures, and this is like punishment to them when they're home alone, and that, you know, they're connected to their devices and so forth. So, you know, I'm talking to Gavin, I'm going, Gavin, because I got out of the shower and he had the guitar out playing the guitar, and and he didn't know how to play the guitar, but I said, well, why don't you give Mr. Johnson a email? Maybe he could give you a 2-minute thing and you can continue to work on. You know, there's times where our schedules are unique. And so maybe there's times where some of you, you know, David, you're an outdoor, you know, the get out there type thing, or outdoor Wisconsin, and you're taking a virtual field trip into Canada and you're having just dialogue conversation some evening because you open up to anybody, whoever wants to come. Or Tom, you do a virtual choir. I was looking on something about people doing choir and they're taping themselves, bringing it in, and the person puts everything together. But, you know, those small little snapshot type things of creating group ones and invitation, whoever wants to come. Not only is there an academic component, but there's the social emotional component too. So think about those opportunities too. Maybe those are more of those specials that are out there too, of how do they fall into place. So something to think about.
I did have a parent question about, okay, so if we do have spotty internet, and for example, if the kids are going to journal and they have their journal at home, like how do we get you that work? How are you going to see it, grade it, whatever? I mean, pretty much everybody has a smartphone too, you know, so like even David's, you know, straw project or whatever, that thing that you had, like they could take a picture of it or a video of it and then just email it to us too. I mean, we could see it that way. So that's just an option. I just think that there should be weekly check-ins with some of that, no matter how they do it. Jeff, we can't hear you.
There we go. So when, for you techie people that might get to understand this or keep it in your noodle, is that Sam, before we left, Sam and I went out and you can get internet access as the guest one, or the students can get one in the parking lots, the charter school parking lot, the parking lot where staff parking lot in the front of the building. So I don't know if that has anything where they can take some stuff, download it, and then come to the school in their car, parents' car, and send it. I don't know, but just kind of keep that in the back of your mind too, of different options.
Would have never thought of that. That's a good one.
Is that worth sharing out on my classroom stuff, that if you work from the parking lot, you can access school's internet?
I think that's something like, that's a big idea that can go like in the one biggie, like the weekly emails that we send. So, because every time you put something on Classroom, all the students get an email too. And so if they're doing that for every class, they're getting all these emails, and then I don't want them just to shut down because they're getting so many emails of everything. Like if we put out our assigned schedule, then that's what they're working on. And then big ideas go on like one spot, so then they can find it too.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Hey, Adam, what do you have? You're kind of sitting there and you're solo in the way you're kind of in isolation, having just 5th grade. Do you have ideas what you are looking at and what kids are exposed to as far as technology in that 5th grade classroom?
No, I think it'll be right along the same lines with what they were all saying. Like you said, it'll just be solo, and you know, I'm not too concerned about sending out emails because they're all just coming from me. So
good. Anything that myself or anybody in this group can help you with, so then you're not working solo and recreating something, or you can piggyback on something?
not really right now that I know of.
You want me to look at my screen?
Are we fist to 5? Are we good to 5, meaning we're ready to move on? And if you need to come back later, you guys can test 0, meaning we're shit out of luck. We need to have a lot more. We're out of luck. That's being recorded. I apologize for the unprofessionalism. So we'll move on.
Where's my, just kidding.
The next one is looking at work with special education teachers and paraprofessionals to develop individual Zoom plans for students with special needs and other support. So, you know, how can some of this be embedded in some of the things that you're doing? And Tammy, what are you thinking?
Okay, so we compiled a packet of work and expectations for our special ed, 6th grade special ed kids and sent that home with them for them to begin on Monday. As far as Google Classroom, I don't know how to do that, so I need help. I think it would be a great thing to have for them, but I would need help setting that up.
On those Thursdays, and that's why that we'll have those Thursdays, Google Classroom professional development, because there's going to be a lot of other people along your way. And then there's also, as Sonia said, there's a huge group of people that have a lot of knowledge on it. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I had Ashley help me with Google Classroom and she was a big help, and Sonia, I'm thinking, would be a big help. And with you, it's probably not going to be too difficult because your numbers are a lot lower. So it should go pretty smoothly, I would think.
We'll also be connecting at least 3 times a week with each of those students, either via phone or email or Zoom.
Will that be one-on-one type things? They'll be 3 times a week?
It's probably going to be either or. If we can figure out how to do the Zoom and have them all know how to do the Zoom as well, that would be a great way to do it.
Perfect. Anything else you guys can think about? And again, these are planning things, and they'll evolve over time. But can anybody think of anything else as far as special education support?
I would say not yet, but just wait, because as we get going through this, we're going to be asking a lot of stuff, a lot of questions.
Anybody else feel like it's kind of like September 1st, but your first year teaching?
My husband had a good
Indeed.
analogy. He said, I'm a heating guy. It's like saying, in 2 days, you're a plumber. You need to learn everything, what you're doing. People are calling you tomorrow before you're even a plumber yet. And they're going to want to know how to fix their plumb, or how to, have you come over and what they're supposed to be doing before that. So that's exactly how I feel.
I think Jeff made a good point yesterday. He said, we were talking and he said, this has never happened in history. It might never happen again. But right now, it's almost like a free pass. It's like, we can't screw this up. We're just operating in really creative areas right now. So we can figure out whatever we need to figure out. The other thing I thought it was interesting that this was all done in a few hours by a group of people sitting together, and it wasn't done by federal legislation and it wasn't done by DPI. I think that was interesting. And then the third thing, you're wondering about students of concern. And my guess is your students of concern in this new experiment are probably going to be the exact same students of concern before the experiment. So I think we know who we're dealing with.
I think an upside though on that, Tom, that we might see is kind of like when you take students into the school forest, and the ones that are the concerns or the troublemakers generally are the ones who are rocking it out there. I wonder how many of these kids are going to be good with it being technology, or that fact that they can unplug a little bit and don't have to deal with some of those social things. So hopefully there's an upside for
What I think I'm going to experience are more parents of concern. The kids are pretty chill with technology and they don't get too frustrated. It's the parents more than anything, and the grandparents. Those are on my short list today to contact. The first one that I contacted was a doozy. So.
Well, I had 2 phone calls this morning. One was from a parent, and I explained to the parent what had to be done on the math stuff. And a little while later, I got another phone call, and it was from the student because the parent didn't understand what I told them. So I explained it to the student. They got it right away. So fun start.
Just on Tom's observation, Has everybody seen Apollo 13, the movie? It was about one guy at the NASA says this is going to be a major disaster. And the other guy says, this is an opportunity to show that we can shine. So let's shine on this.
Thank you. What a great video to be able to watch. And like Tom said, getting people together and just being creative and coming up with an idea, and yet you really can't screw up. And so do you, we'll put some closure on it. Do you guys want to continue to meet? What would you like to do?
I would like to take somewhat of a break myself. So David and Kelly, and Monday, let's get together Monday morning sometime. We'll email each other, set up some type of Zoom meeting, and take it from there. I don't know if that'll work for you two or not, and anybody else that wants to be involved.
Can we do like 5 minutes? Cause as a parent, like I need something from teachers to know what's going on, because I'm getting
Okay.
texts from parents too, asking me, well, Kelly, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know, cause I haven't talked to anybody. And I think just like a bare bones schedule, 5 minutes. Like if you want them working on math for so many minutes a day, I want them working on reading so many minutes a day, science, how much, and just kind of here's an outline, but next week we will fine tune this for you. And then your office hours, when they'll start next week, but then telling them to be patient and give us a week to kind of get things moving. They have their assignments. It's just parents sometimes need to hear from the teachers too, not just on Google Classroom through their students.
So before we leave then, and you guys do that, tomorrow, Monday will be that day that these meetings will happen. Tammy, do you want something before I continue to talk?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that if you guys could include me and Sarah on all your Zoom meetings, please, we would appreciate that.
Okay.
So if you guys can decide what's the time that you as a group would like to meet, and again, we want that to be Mondays, but if you can look at that time, shooting for an hour and a half if you need to, or whatever, how much time you need. I mean, let's be realistic. You guys you're gonna run out of time because you guys have so much input. But can somebody be the person that does the invitation from this group? Send out those invitations, and be the person that is in charge of recording.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, David.
Are you meeting right now?
I couldn't even get to my unmute button to say I would do it.
So what time would be a good time?
I'm an early riser.
Would 9 work?
Perfect.
Because I've got that office hour till 9, and then we can figure it out. So after from 9 to 10.
Yeah, 9 to 10 is good. And then like the 10 to 11 would be our possible like meeting with the kids. And then what's the other meeting that we have to do, Jeff?
Are you talking about this coming Monday?
Yeah, and then like Tuesday, you said 9:45, Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's our.
I don't think we'll meet with kids on Monday though, will we?
No.
No, just we're going to meet together at 9.
Yeah.
9 to 10. And then starting that following week, we'll meet with kids.
That's what I thought.
Okay. I thought
We can discuss that on our own, I guess.
Okay, sure. So next week, 9 to 10 will be our first Monday meeting, and we can figure out some more details on what our future meetings will look like.
And David, you're gonna kind of lead that, at least that first one? You're
Yeah, that's
comfortable with
just,
that?
that's just fine. I'm actually going to set it up right now. So can you maybe trying to think, just on the chat bar, can you write if you want to be included on that meeting? And then I'll create that meeting.
And next week, don't be afraid to, like David, you did a little test run the other day, and you might find some of those bugs that you can take care of before that time by just doing informal things as well.
And also middle school group, you guys are go-getters and you're movers. just remember, everything does not have to be done Monday. You know, we're looking at probably, my guess would be either into May or to the end of the school year. And everything does not have to be done in a couple days. So take care of yourselves as well. Take care of your families as well. And it's evolving and things will get there.
Thank you, everyone.
So a quick question then, you said 9:45, like on Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's what time we're meeting for?
Well, we'll 9:45. Yes, right now we'll go 9:45 on that, but we'll see if those change. You know, you might, as a group, and we're talking to Jenny and them, maybe you know, an early one's better. So then you guys, when you start to schedule your times that you're going to meet, you'll have some. It's not right in the middle of the day because you're going to be meeting with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So what's that going to look like? So there's flexibility. We just threw some places in there.
Adam, do you, sorry.
Sorry, next Tuesday, Thursday then, we don't have those things starting, or we do?
We will. Tuesday and Thursday, we will. So count at 9:45 both those days.
Jeff, on 9:45 on Tuesdays, I'm just looking at your schedule. That's going to be run by John and Jenny. Who's running the PD on Thursdays? Is that their own group, or is that
Sonia and Ashley will be the facilitators? But as Sonia had mentioned, you know, there's people at the middle school and high school that know a lot more than what I know. So you're going to have people like Kelly and David that have done it a lot, and Adam, and you know, Tammy and I are going to be on step one trying to figure things out. At least I am. I can't speak for her, but you know, we're going to be on opposite ends. So those two are going to facilitate that, and we're going to kind of soak it in. And if we have to ask and reach out more, we can reach out to Sonia and so forth. So those will be the facilitators.
Hey, I just saw that your president is not enforcing standardized testing this year, nationally.
I think we should figure out a way to do those standardized tests.
Hey, maybe this will be the end of them.
Sure, David. Sure.
Wishful thinking. Just so you know, I just created the group. I'm about to send out the email. I just want to make sure everyone who wants to be on it is. I have Tammy, Sarah, Tom, Bob, Buff, Kelly, myself. Anyone else want to join that one? Amy? Okay. That sounds.
Adam will have to decide what group he wants to go to.
Yep, and that sounds good. I put in the side comment that, you know, it's good to have him. We love tech support and knowledge, and we'll work with the 5th graders, but whatever he wants to do is up to him.
You got me?
I will add you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Adam, will you make a decision and then let either David or elementary know where you'd like to be?
Yeah, I had sent you an email or whoever has the video of the elementary meeting, if you wouldn't mind sending that to me, just so I can kind of see where they're kind of heading as well. You're muted, Diane.
Once we did video, or we did the videoing, we just have to figure out how to send that out. Mr. Johnson was going to teach me tonight.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to log off then. Have a great weekend.
Bless America.
I love it. Should we say the pledge, Amy?
Yeah.
Bye, guys. Wolf and Kelly, do we want to meet quick on here, or do we go to a different one?
Kelly's coming over.
Kelly's coming over. I'll